Hello, in this video, I'm going to share with you how you can replace your full-time income by selling property deals part-time. Is it really possible? Yes, it is absolutely possible. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. There's definitely time and effort involved, but it can be done very much part-time, give you enough money, more money than you're earning right now doing a full-time job working for someone else. So how do I know this? Well, I've helped many people do it. My name's Simon Zutshi. I'm the founder of the Property Investors Network with 50 meetings around the country. I'm the author of the Amazon #1 bestseller, Property Magic, over 100,000 copies in circulation. And I've been investing for over 25 years. Now, when I first started investing in property in 1995, I really didn't know what I was doing. I bought a property just for me to live in, and I rented out some of the rooms to my friends who are still studying at university. And I kind of lived for free. And by the way, that was a no money down deal. I didn't have any money. I had to borrow the money to do that deal. But then I was living for free in the house, and I had a part-time business generating some profit. And so I saved up enough to buy a second property. And again, I didn't really know what to do as an investment property. I just bought a new house for me to live in. I moved there with my friends. And because I had a deposit, I didn't have to sell the first one. It just so happened the first one was in an excellent location, and I was able to rent it to students and get a really good profit on it every single month. And that property was paying me an income every single month without having to do any more work. And that's when I realized how powerful property investing can be. Now, you might think, why on earth would I want to sell good deals? Surely I want to keep them myself. Well, when you learn how to find great property deals in your area, you will find more deals than you can possibly do yourself. There's only a certain capacity of deals you can do in terms of the time and effort it requires, in terms of the money you need for deposits, the ability to get mortgages, so you won't be able to do every deal you find. But you need to know what makes a great deal first of all. So what are you actually looking for? So let me give you a couple of criteria to think about. And most people just don't know this. I didn't know this when I started, but I've been teaching people a very long time, and this is what you need to know. So first of all, what makes a great deal? What makes a great deal for you might be different from me, might be different from someone else. We all have different criteria, but there are some general characteristics that if you have a lot of these in a deal, for most people say, yep, that's a pretty good deal. The first one is if we can pay less than a property's worth, if we can buy it below market value. Now, the way we do that, I'm going to cover later in this video, but let's just suggest the property's worth 200,000 and we can buy it for 150,000. It means that's a 25% discount, which is a £50,000 instant equity the day we buy. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, hang on a minute, why on earth would someone sell a property for 25% off the market price? I'm going to share that with you later in this video. And it took me 11 years to work this out and to realize that some people would do that. I'll explain why later in the video. But first of all, if you buy at a discount, that's a good start. Secondly, the thing is, we want to make sure that the property's in an area where we can easily rent it out. It's important that we can quickly and easily put tenants into this property who can cover all of the bills and make us money each month. If you have an empty property, it's called a void period, and you have to pay the mortgage, you've got to pay the council tax, the gas and electric standing charges, it's going to cost you money. Now, that happens occasionally, but if we buy in an area with strong rental demand, it minimizes those void periods. It means you're putting money into your pocket more of the time. Now, a mistake that many people make when looking for property deals, one of the biggest mistakes people make, especially if they're looking for deals for other people, they think, well, the rental doesn't really matter because I'm not going to rent it out, I'm selling it to someone else. Well, that's a big mistake. Whoever you're selling it to, they want to make sure they can rent it out. So if it's not in an area of good demand, you might just find someone who's prepared to sell at a discount. No point buying a cheap house if you can't rent it out. So it's very important. Linked to that, the third thing is you want to make sure every property that you buy or you find for someone else gives positive cash flow. What does that mean? Well, when you take the rent each month and you take off all the expenses, so the mortgage, the insurance, the maintenance, all of the costs, it must make money every single month. If it doesn't make money, well then actually you don't want to do it as a deal. It must make profit every single month because we want to put money into a deal and get an instant return every single month, a good return on investment. It's also good if we can add value to a property. Now, you can sometimes find brand new properties. You can get a deal from a developer who wants to get rid of the last few properties. You can do that. But the problem is you can't do anything to the property to increase the value. If we buy an older property, one that needs a little bit of work doing to it, we can spend some money on it. And the idea is the money you spend on the renovation is less than the value you can create by improving that property. So we like properties where we can add value. Also, if we can do a strategy where it's a low money down deal, so not a large amount of money required up front, or when we put money in but we get it back quickly, it's called a no money left in deal, that's also very attractive and that's a good deal. And then also if we can find something that's got a high return on investment. So it's unlikely you're going to get all of these things in one deal, but the more that you can get, the better the deal is. And if you find a deal that's got all of these things, and by the way, you need to be able to move very, very quickly. And that's something you need to understand. To be a successful deal source, one of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to find property deals is that they find a great deal and they sit and think about it for too long. Successful people, we are decisive. We take action, we move quickly. That's what you need to learn how to do. Now, if you're new to property, you might think, well, I don't know what to do. But the good news is you can get training, you can educate yourself and learn how to find these great deals. In fact, you can actually find great property deals available on Rightmove in your area right now and on Zoopla. They're sitting there. The problem is most people go on Zoopla or Rightmove, they scroll through hundreds and hundreds of properties, they don't really know what they're looking for, they come off after hours and hours frustrated because they haven't been able to find great deals. When you know what you're looking for, actually in about 15 minutes, you could find some really good opportunities, and that's anywhere in the country. People often say to me, Simon, oh, well, that's very well, but you're not going to get people who'll sell at a discount in somewhere like London or an expensive place. Let me tell you about one of my students. So one of my students, she's very, very wealthy. She sold a business in America, had a lot of cash, and she wanted to buy a property in a particular square in London. She'd fallen in love with this particular square. She did have a rental property in that square, but she wanted a home for her to live in. And a property came up on the market for £7 million. So £7 million was the asking price. Now that was within her budget. I said she's a very wealthy lady. And it was a few years ago now. It was just before the UK had the referendum vote about leaving Brexit. Obviously, as you know, we're now completely out of the European Union. But this was years ago when they actually first had the vote. And there was a lot of uncertainty. As you remember, it was very polarized. Some people wanted to stay, some people wanted to leave. And a lot of people were very concerned about what might happen to the housing market if the vote was to leave the European Union. And so my client was able to negotiate a deal to buy this property that was on the market for £7 million. She bought it 3 weeks before the Brexit referendum, and she paid £5.5 million for it. So she saved £1.5 million. That's 21% in prime London. So obviously there are deals everywhere if you know what you're looking for. Now you might be saying, so, well, that's very well, but I don't want to buy, I can't afford a £7 million property. No, you might not want a £7 million property, but there are other people who do want £7 million properties. And do you think if they were able to save £1.5 million, 21% off the price, do you think they'd be happy to pay a nice finder's fee to you? Well, yes, they probably would. In reality, a finder's fee for that kind of deal might be something like £100,000. One deal selling on for £100,000. Now that's not what you make when you typically sell a deal. If you sell a deal onto someone, you might make between £3,000 and £5,000. That's an average. Say 4,000 might be an average. And obviously, if you did just one of those a month, that would be £48,000 a year. If you did 2 deals a month, that would be £96,000 a year. Now, once you know what you're doing and you put some systems in place, this can be done very much part-time. How do I know? Well, we've had students who have actually had busy full-time jobs, or they've been running their own business. They've only had a small amount of time, but because they followed our step-by-step process, they put it in place, and part-time, they've been generating great leads. They've known how to speak to sellers, what to say to them, and that's then given the ability to secure really good deals. So You can make a lot of money doing this, but you need to know how to do it in the correct way. Now, a lot of people ask me, Simon, how do I set up a deal sourcing business? Well, there are a couple of things you need to do. Having a limited company is probably the best way of doing it, first of all. And there are different types of company you have for different property transactions. If you're buying and holding a property for long term, that would be an investment business. If you're selling deals, that would be very much a trading business. So you set up a limited company. And then if you're selling deals to other people, you do need to be compliant. What does that mean? There's no exams or tests, but there are certain things you need to do. So first of all, you need to make sure that you register with one of the property ombudsmen. That's really good in case you have any disputes. They will help mediate those. Second thing is you need to register with the information commissioner. If you are holding details of anyone, if you're a landlord, you've got tenant details. If you're buying properties, selling properties, you're going to have details of sellers, etc. You should be registered with the information commissioner to make sure things are held correctly. Next, you should have professional indemnity insurance. Now that's in case you sell a deal and you make a mistake, someone tries to sue you, it means you don't lose everything, the insurance will pay for it. And finally, you do need to register with Hmrc to say that you are a deal sourcer, and obviously register people for anti-money laundering checks, AML checks. So a number of things you do need to do. It probably costs less than £1,000 to get set up, but you do need to make sure you're doing things in the correct way. And when you think about how much you can actually make doing it, well then, it's kind of worth doing things properly. What a lot of investors do, I don't recommend this, but a lot of investors, they might sell one deal to a family member or a friend, someone they know really, really well, make sure it goes very well, and the money they make, say the £4,000 from that, some they keep, some they invest to get set up properly. If you're going to be selling lots of deals to people, especially if they're people you don't know, please make sure you do things in the correct way. So what this means is, to replace your income, the average person in the UK earns, I think, between £25,000 and £30,000. You could sell just one deal a month and you would easily be earning more than you'd earn as a full-time job. Now you might think, well, if these are great deals, why would I sell them? Well, as I said earlier, if you get good at this, you're going to find more deals than you can possibly do yourself. You might find deals that are outside of your geographic area, ones that don't meet your strategy, ones that are too big for you, too small for you. And so by understanding this and finding people who you can sell deals to, you can make a really good income. So how do you find people to sell deals to? And who do you sell to? Well, other property investors, people like you who are interested in investing in property. Maybe they've got money, but maybe they're short of time. They don't have the time to find deals. Maybe they don't know how to find deals. Maybe they know how and they've got the time, but they're just not inclined to do it themselves. They'd rather pay someone like you a fee to go and do it for them. How do you find these people? Well, coming to property training events, property networking events, people who are already there, they know property is a great thing to do, but they just don't want to do it themselves. You could get to know those people, connect with them, and then find great deals to pass on to them. Again, you need to do things professionally. A big mistake people make when sourcing deals, they go and find a great deal, then they rush around trying to sell it to someone before the seller changes their mind. You need to get some investors lined up who you can pass those deals on to, so when you find a great deal, you know you can sell it very quickly. Because after all, the person selling the deal, they want a quick solution. And this is the final thing I want to tell you about in this video really, is that the thing that took me 11 years to learn was working with motivated sellers. Now these are people for whom the speed and certainty of the sale is more important than the actual amount of money they're going to get from the sale. So it's important to understand this. Most people who are selling a property want to get as much as they possibly can. Of course they do. However, as time goes on, people become more motivated. They might have a deadline they're working towards. Maybe they're emigrating, or they're relocated for work, or they're getting divorced, or someone's inherited a house, or the financial, whatever it is, there's a problem. And we look for people with a problem, not to take advantage, but to try and help them, to try and understand what exactly is the problem, what do they need, and if we can come up with an ethical win-win solution that solves their problem, they're going to be really happy for us to get what we want. And what this means is if we give people what they need, the speed and certainty they need, they might be very flexible on the price and or the terms of the sale. which means we can do some of the creative strategies such as purchase lease options, vendor finance, exchange with day completion, some of the really clever advanced strategies that most investors just do not understand. But it all starts with learning how to find a great deal in your area, and the best thing to do is look for motivated sellers. Most people go and look for properties, and you can do that, but you're gonna have to look at a lot of properties to find the truly motivated sellers. It's much better to look for the sellers, and then when you find those sellers, work out if the property they have is one that's appropriate for you. You're gonna keep the very best deals yourself. The ones you don't want, as long as they're a good deal, you can package up and sell onto other people. So I just really want to make sure you understand that. Learning how to find great deals in your area, getting out, taking action, particularly right now. In 2021, most people believe we're going to see a property market crash. And what that means is when prices come down, sellers want to get rid of their property, there are going to be more and more deals available. So you need to understand how to do this. Now, I've actually got some online training. It's a lot longer than I've had time for in this video. We're doing a 90-minute online training all about how you can replace your income, your full-time income, with income by selling deals on a very much a part-time basis. If you want to click on the link below, you can come and join that training. If you like the video, please press like. If you have any questions, please type questions in. I'll come back and answer them. In fact, some of the questions I've covered today are from questions people have asked me previously. So come and ask questions if you want. That will help me decide what I'm going to do in future videos. If you like the video, make sure you subscribe as well. I have at least 1 or 2 brand new videos every week, which I think you'll find really useful if you want to become a more successful investor. So my name's Zutshi. As ever, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. Click on the link below to come and do the training, like this video, and also subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on any more of these free training videos. Speak to you soon.